Okay, a show of hands. How many of you have Wi-Fi in your house? Okay. One, two, five, 15,000 hands have gone up. Everybody nowadays has Wi-Fi in their house. It's just a commonplace. And I will say, I still remember when I first got Wi-Fi in my house. It's one of those, birth of my child, getting married, putting in Wi-Fi. It ranks right up there. Seriously, it like when my mind thinks about it, just the electric like that was cool moment deploying that. But now it's commonplace. Now it's everywhere. And you might be wondering, well, why did you add a bonus video here on configuring Wi-Fi? Most people know how to do this. Well, first off, I'll grab that statement there. Yeah, most people do know how to do this, but for some people that maybe haven't ever configured Wi-Fi, I want to bring that up. But I specifically want to talk about how this applies to our scenario, meaning we're going to use this wireless access point. You're looking at the web GUI for it right now. It's a Cisco WAP 4410N. It's the exact model that we are using in our business design for the Nugget Labs branch office. Now, it was no accident that I chose that model because it happens to be the model that I use in my house, and it works. I've been pretty happy with this. While it says Cisco, it's not really Cisco. It's kind of the Linksys, I wish I were Cisco kind of access point. But it's good. It works, and it's cheap, at least compared to a full-blown, real Cisco wireless access point. So I want to bring that up, and hang on, let me grab my pen here and just draw this in because I want to show. Scoot things over here. There we go. I want to show one of the things that we're planning on doing, and we actually configured the ports for it, is connecting the wireless access points to the switches, and these access points are going to be broadcasting different SSIDs. We'll have, for instance, Nugget Labs Public, which we might have no encryption on at all. We might have some encryption, but remember that was the VLAN that we have restricted. That was one of the last things that we did in this series, is restricting the VLAN so that the Nugget Lab Public VLAN, I believe that was VLAN 69, is not going to be able to get off of that VLAN other than accessing the internet. It won't be able to reach any internal resources. We're going to have, for instance, I'll just call it Nugget Lab Internal, where that VLAN, if it's permitted, is allowed to come in and access all the internal resources, or if it is joined by a client. That's going to be in the same VLAN as the client PCs, which is VLAN 66. It's funny. It's like the series is done. I'm adding this last one, and I've already all the VLAN numbers. I'm starting to go, what did we do here? I don't remember. That's why documentation is so key. Seriously, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I will. There are so many times where I spent so much time on a client. I'm like, I know that network like the back of my hand, but I'm telling you, give it 3 months, and I'm back there going, oh, well, oh no, so that's. Documentation is huge. So anyway, we've already set up the ports throughout this series to accept the wireless access points and have a trunk to the access point. So what I want to show here is how do we configure the access point itself. So what I'm actually using my access point that I use for my house. I'm going to log into this thing. And this is it. I did not change too much on this access point beyond the defaults. It's a very, very simple setup. I actually have 3 access points in my house. Seriously. Well, it was. Let me tell you why. Is we got these video surveillance things for our kids. These IP cameras that join the Wi-Fi, and we have it on our laptops, on our monitors. Just a constant stream where we can watch what our kids are doing in their room. And hang on, this is my kids are 3 years old, 4 years old. Okay, it's not creepy. I'm not weird. Wow, I feel like I'm just on the stand here. I want to make anyway. So we've got these cameras, and so they're always streaming, and that just kills Wi-Fi. I mean, it's constantly transmitting, and Wi-Fi is like a hub. If you have somebody sending all the time, it's going to bury your bandwidth. So I actually have access points dedicated just to the cameras. This access point is what I use for my data connections from my laptops and things like that. So anyway, basic setup of this, I gave it an IP address. The only thing that this is used for is to manage it. So I can go to 172.100.16 and get in and manage the access point. Underneath here, you have the time setting, so it knows the time. Kind of hard code. Do you want to hard code your port to 100 meg or auto negotiate? Or hard code your port speed. Just some of the basic settings. Let's talk wireless. So this is the big one I want to show you. First off, we've got wireless network mode. This is a 802.11n access point, which actually supports B, G, and N. So I have it on a mixed environment because, believe it or not, I do actually have some legacy devices that are G or B. I've got like my Nintendo Wii, things like that, critical devices that have to join the network. And then we have the channel. Now most people leave this on auto. Bad move most of the time. Now sometimes it'll pick something good, but really, my auto, you auto not use it, right? You just want to hard code it. So what you want to do when you select this is first off realize there's only 3 truly clean channels: 1, 6, and 11. Those 3 channels are the clean ones that, essentially if you're using, channel 2 or 4 or 8, you're kind of blending between. And I don't want to get into all the technical details of why, but just trust me on that one. 1, 6, and 11 is what you want. So how do you know which one to pick? Honestly, what I did at my house is I just grabbed a wireless sniffer on my iPhone. Just because it was free, it was easy to put on there, and I just opened my phone, and it tells me all the wireless networks that are in my neighborhood within range, and what channel they're on. And I look and I go, okay, well, 99% of people are using channel 6, which is probably one of the worst channels to use. But hang on, let me back up because hey, I'm using channel 6. No, just because so many different devices use that channel. But immediately I saw just a flood of networks on 6, which you're now competing for airspace, if you will, with those networks if you choose that channel. A couple were on 11, and I saw one really far away that was on channel 1. And so that's what I chose. Is just choose the channel that has the least number of devices on it. Now, I will tell you, if you see somebody else using channel 2 or 3 or 4 or something, they effectively are taking out channel 1 and 6 just because of again, the wireless signal, it says 2.412 gigahertz as the frequency, and 2.417, 2.412. But each of these channels has a range. So, for instance, channel 1 actually starts at 2.412 and goes to, I don't know it off the top of my head, something over here. Channel 2 overlaps with that. Channel 3 overlaps with that. So only when you get to over here to channel 6 do you really pick up where the frequencies of channel 1 end, and then channel 6 begins. And then channel 11 comes over here and has its own unique. So if you've got someone that chooses channel 3, they're really kind of stepping in the middle. I should have chose like black here. Let's go black. They're going to step in the middle and just kill your 2 clean channels. And it's best just to go knock on that person's door and let them know you're going to be reconfiguring their wireless network. So back to what we're talking about. So you pick a channel, and then you define your SSIDs. Now this is what I have here for my house, is just SSID AdTech. Some people name it after their name or whatever else. So for instance, in our scenario, I would do NL public, or something like that, where it's Nugget Labs public, or NL. Let's do private, as the 2 different networks. Now, SSID broadcast says, do you want to broadcast that name to where people will see it and it's available in a beacon, so that it, when they're joining it from their laptops, it's like, oh, do you want to join that one? If you don't broadcast it, the good news is it's not as easy to find. Meaning, somebody can't open their laptop and be like, oh, I see there's a Nugget Lab private out there, but if you don't broadcast it, then you have to manually configure the devices. Like, you can't just tell someone, oh yeah, click on view networks and there it is. It makes it harder for them. And the reason, a lot of you are like, well, yeah, but you want it for security. And it's true, it is more secure to have it as a private network. But if someone knows what they're doing, meaning they've got a wireless sniffer, which is very easy to get now, they'll see that network. Even though it's not broadcast, they'll see traffic. Initially in their sniffer, it'll show up as an unnamed network. But eventually, they'll find a packet that has a little beacon in the header or the network name, and the sniffers that are good out there will be like, oh, that unnamed network is really NL private. So hiding it's a good layer of security, but I wouldn't say, wow, that's ultra secure. So let me save that and actually drop all of my wireless devices in my house. So we've got public and private. Now, here's the big thing I want to show you is when we go to, well, security is security. That's where you can come in and say, I've got the public network. You can either do disabled, meaning there's no security at all, or you can do, WPA personal, WPA2 personal. The beauty of the personal is it's easy. It's called PSK, pre-shared key. Very easy to set up, and you have a secret ninja key. Like, let's say I say personal, and this is my. By the way, if you're like, I know your key. I just made up that key before I started recording. It's not really the key to my house, really. So the beauty of personal is you give somebody the key and now they're on. The bad thing is that's the key. I mean, so let's say you have an employee that leaves the company, they have the key in their laptop or in their head or in their email or something. So now you have to change the key for everybody to make sure they don't get back on, which is why most organizations, larger corporations, I'll say, will go with enterprise. What this does is allow you to set up a radius server, which could be like Active Directory. You could use Active Directory with a couple tweaks as a radius server. And when somebody opens their laptop, instead of typing in a pre-shared key, they actually authenticate. I say, my username is Jeremy, my password is Cisco. The wireless access point will go to the radius server and say, hey, he typed in Jeremy Cisco, is that cool? And the Active Directory server will say, yeah, he's good, let him on. And it'll generate some encryption keys for me to use while I'm doing that. If my account is disabled in Active Directory, like I left the company, then the domain controller will say, no, don't let them on the wireless network. Now they do have some shared secrets. This is not for the wireless. This is for the radius server. So you can when this wireless access point have to say I'm allowed to talk to the radius server. So that's where that comes in. So a little piece on security there. There's something else I was going to say on that. Oh, okay. So on the public, we're talking about the public network. If you do choose to disable security, meaning there is no security on the public Wi-Fi, you're going to want to let people know about that. Here's what I mean is maybe on whatever form you give them to let them know that there is this public network, or the receptionist, when somebody says, hey, is there a public network? If you don't use any security at all, let them know this is unencrypted, as in your information is not secure. Because even if you put on, you could go with like the weakest kind of encryption that's out there. Let's do a WEP 64-bit key, let's do key of, 5555 5555. I think that's 10 digits. It has to be 10 digits. So the weakest kind of security that there is. The beauty is, even though it's super weak, and yes, WEP 64-bit is easy to break, everything that somebody sends over the network will be encrypted. And that's good. So just the passerby doesn't get that information. So even public Wi-Fi, it's good to have some level of security on it just to encrypt your public users' data, so that somebody can't just see like an email that they send, not knowing that it's wide open, clear text. But of course, the drawback of this is, for people to get on your public Wi-Fi, they have to visit the receptionist and say, well, how can I get on public, and get the key and all that kind of stuff. So that's the bit on security. And you get in connection control and Wi-Fi protected setup where you just push a button and get connected. But I'm not going to get into all that. This is where I think I want to camp out here, and this will probably be where I leave off. VLANs and quality of service. Now, quality of service I'm going to just slide aside for now because I want to talk about VLANs. What we're doing in our scenario is we are going to have the internal SSID, Nugget, or actually we called it private, Nugget Labs private, is going to be on VLAN 66. Nugget Labs public is going to be on VLAN 69. So that's exactly what I have to do in here. Is I need to go to here and first off enables VLANs. It says, oh, hey, by the way, if you do this, only a host who is on the same management VLAN can access this device. What it's talking about is, notice right here, AP management VLAN. This access point is assigned an IP address, 172.30.100.16. Whatever VLAN I put in here better be the VLAN that this subnet is reachable on. Otherwise, as soon as I click save and save this config, I'm going to lose access. I'm going to have to reset my access point because I won't be able to get to it unless I'm on, VLAN 10 or VLAN 60 or whatever. I think in our scenario, our management VLAN, can't remember what it is, but you know, there is that management VLAN that we have. We would put this on the management VLAN tagged, that then tags all the traffic across the trunk to be able to manage this device. So this is just to manage the access point. What VLAN is this IP address reachable from, is what it's asking. Default VLAN ID is saying, hey, is this going to be for anything that I need to send that isn't management? It's not. That doesn't have to do with an SSID. What do you want me to tag it with? And usually you'll put that the same as the management. Or and again, I'm throwing 60. I think it was. I don't remember. It was 71. VLAN tag, you want to change over to tagged to say we are tagging all of the traffic that is going, coming and going to this device. And actually, default VLAN ID, a lot of people will also call that the native VLAN, if that rings a bell. So this tags it. Now here's the big thing that we would want to do. We would then go to public and say you are being tagged with VLAN 69. 69. Private is going to be VLAN 66 and tag that way. Now, anytime somebody joins that SSID, they will then come out tagged on VLAN 66 and have all of those security restrictions that are applied to that. Now, when we did the access list, we said VLAN 66, I think, just can't access the voice network, but everything else is accessible. Oh, and there was some restrictions on the servers they could access, like how they were filtered there. The public VLAN, that guy is going to be 69. He's locked down to internet access only. So you get the idea here of this. This is really the key. I would say this whole nugget I created simply to show you this field right here, to say this is how we would set up the SSID so they come out on the right VLAN and they would come into that port, which the port that the access point is set to is configured as a trunk, and they would come into that trunk tagged with either VLAN 66 or 69, which would dictate what security restrictions they have based on what SSID they joined. Does that help? Does that make sense? That's a big part of what we're talking about. So everything else in here, again, we could get into a whole wireless series and get into it, but it's pretty simple. Doesn't get too complex with this access point. So all that being said, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.